Welcome to the Mason Associates YouTube channel. I'm John Mason, President and Certified Financial Planner at Mason Associates. Folks, today's video, we're going to be talking the 4% distribution rule and your thrift savings plan, or the federal TSP. So what are we talking about here? So you've spent an entire career, maybe 30, maybe 40 years or longer, saving in your thrift savings plan, getting ready for the day that you're going to retire. Now, you've ended the accumulation phase and now you're entering the distribution phase. And folks, it gets scary. As we help clients prepare for this event, we often prepare them for an event that looks like this. Imagine that you're retiring on December 31st of 2024 and the market will be down 15, 20, 25%. Plan for that, because if that doesn't happen, then we're also going to be okay. Why do we ask clients to start mentally preparing to be down 20% the day they retire? Because folks, that's really like the worst thing that could happen for a couple reasons. Number one, it's not good for sequence of return risk, but number two, it's not good for the psyche. It was already going to be hard to start spending your own money. It's going to be even harder if the market is down any percentage or any dollar amount, just as you get ready to take that withdrawal and do your first big retirement vacation. So we're aware of that at Mason Associates, and we want to help you prepare for that as well. So as you think about your financial plan, as you think about that first year of retirement, be ready for the market to be down 15, 20, 25%, just as the time that you get ready to spend your own money. So now, what is a reasonable distribution rate? Well, many of you on here have probably seen the 4% distribution rule, or maybe you heard that controversial video by the famous guy, Dave Ramsey, who talked about a higher distribution rate. In this video, I don't want to get into the specifics on who's right or who's wrong based on the math, but I do want to educate you on some of the potential flaws using a 3%, 4%, or even a 5% distribution rate as you get ready to start withdrawing your assets in retirement. So conventional wisdom, traditional financial planning software has a few flaws in it, and that's how we got to this 4% or 5% distribution rule. Number one, the assumption is that you're going to live a very long time. Well, many of us aren't, so that's a flaw. Number two, it assumes that whatever we need today, we will need more tomorrow, and we should increase that distribution rate by an inflation adjustment over your retirement life expectancy. That's a potential flaw. Number three, it makes the assumption that in a down year or in a down couple of years, that you, the end client, do not make any adjustments to spending whatsoever. So what are the flaws? The flaws are we need a pay raise every year based on inflation adjustments. Number two is that you're going to live a long time. Number three is that you're never going to make an adjustment. All of these are inherently kind of bad assumptions. Now, if you're doing a one-time financial plan, we have to basically throw all that in there because we don't know if you're going to take that one-time financial plan and implement it for the next 35 years. If you are, and you're never going to make an adjustment to that plan, we have to be much more conservative on the front end. So much goes into this 4% distribution rule because one, we've determined that all of these assumptions are flawed, but number two, what if you need to have a higher distribution rate every time you need to buy a new car? What happens then? What happens if you need to take a 6, 7, or even an 8% distribution rate because we're delaying Social Security? So we've heard 4% is a safe number, and at Mason Associates, we may have clients taking 6 or 7% because we have them actively delaying Social Security until full retirement age or maybe even age 70. So is that okay? Well, sure it is, but we need to make sure that we have all of these assumptions coming back into our financial plan, educating our clients on why these higher distribution rates make sense. On the flip side of that, what if a client comes in and they want to start distributions at 5 or 6%? I'm not necessarily We're not necessarily opposed to that as long as the client understands the risk associated with starting off at those higher levels, whether it be sequence of return risk or just the ability to know that we have to make a change when the market goes down to kind of shore up that portfolio. It all goes into having an ongoing financial planning relationship with somebody, some team that you trust that can help you make adjustments each and every year to your financial plan. One of our favorite things that we talk about at Mason and Associates is the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. And as we specialize with federal employees, folks, this is what we've come to learn. The financial planning software assumptions that assume you need more money every year, that assume you always need a pay raise, both of those are wrong, and here's why. Number one, the go-go, slow-go, no-go. I've witnessed this now for 14 years. The first decade after you retire, you're going to spend more money than you will in the second decade and even more in the third decade. So what ends up happening is you do a lot of travel, you do a lot of trips, you do a lot of vacation early, and then you start doing less of that in decade 2, and even less of that as you enter the no-go decade and decades 3, 4, and 5. So remember, go-go, slow-go, and no-go, your spending is certainly not linear. Over the 14 years I've been doing this, I can only think of maybe 1 or 2 times where a client has consistently asked me for an inflation-adjusted distribution from an account that we're managing. Why is that? Well, CSRS infers you get cost of living adjustments on your federal pension each and every year. You get a COLA. So you have this really large pension. You also have Social Security benefits, many of you, that's also receiving a COLA. So although you're spending more today than you were yesterday, 2 of your 3 income sources, Social Security and federal pension, just went up, which takes the pressure off of your investments, meaning often we do not have to give our clients inflation-adjusted distributions in retirement. 1, because of these flawed assumptions. 2, because of the big cost of living adjustments that we see on the federal pensions and Social Security over time. Why is this so important? As our clients enter retirement, we hope that they feel supported, empowered, educated, and motivated, not only to make positive changes in their financial plan, but feel really confident, calm, cool, collected that yes, now that we've reached this point, we can start taking distributions. We can start doing those vacations. We can gift money to the kids and grandkids. We feel good about why we save this money and how we can use it. And understanding that a 4% distribution rule, folks, is just a baseline for your initial retirement projection. It doesn't have to be the distribution that you hold to for the rest of your life. In fact, what we find as our clients go through those phases in retirement, go, slow go, no go, we actually find that many of our clients end up becoming net accumulators again in phase 2 and 3 because you've got phenomenal health insurance. Many of you have long-term care insurance and you've saved more than most people. And what ends up happening is your income sources exceed your expenses, your portfolio becomes less and less important over time, and you end up net accumulating in phases 2 and 3. So what do we do at Mason and Associates? Well, if we do a retirement projection, and sometimes we do a 1-page financial plan, that 1-page financial plan may show a 4% distribution. Pension, Social Security, 4% distribution from TSP is kind of a baseline, almost as like a proof statement that says, okay, can we actually retire? After we go through that initial proof statement, then we get to make it more complicated with, well, Joe, we're delaying your Social Security until 70, so we're actually going to need to hit your distributions at 7% or 8%. But don't worry, because once we've activated these other income streams, your TSP distribution is going to come down to 1 or 2% or maybe even 0 until we get to that required minimum distribution phase. What if you don't even need distributions in retirement? What do you do then? Well, folks, that's an entirely different video. Now we're talking tax planning, RMDs, legacy. This is where if you are not distributing from your assets in retirement, you have the same or even bigger challenges to the folks who are distributing. So folks taking distributions probably need help. Folks not taking distributions probably need to look at their tax plan and their estate plan to figure out what this is going to look like over time. So 4% rule. What's the summary? Should you use it? Yes. You can use that 4% distribution rule as an initial guide to determine, can I actually retire? But this 4% rule is not something that we need to stick to forever. It's not something that we should be scared of going over or under in any given year, but we should use it as a baseline to at least determine on some level, is retirement possible? And then we can get into the more complex calculations that follow. Folks, if you like this video, please do all the things like subscribe, share, hit that bell notification. And oh, by the way, yes, we're financial planners first and we do this second, but remember, we're not your financial planners. So no part of this video can be taken as financial planning, tax planning, or legal advice. You'd have to hire us and have an actual agreement on file for that to be construed as a financial planner and client relationship. Thank you for supporting our channel, for supporting Mason and Associates and everything we do here. We specialize with federal employees, and we've been doing that for over 3 decades. We're Mason and Associates, masonllc.net.